The biggest advice I have isn't an easy one, but I always live by differentiate or die.
As a privately held company getting close to 1,000 people without borrowing any penny from anyone and not being open to borrow any penny from anyone for my lifetime, it's
super rare.
Welcome to this special MSP Leadership and Growth episode of Sunny Silver Linings. Joining Sunny today, we have Damien Stevens, founder and CEO, Servosity. Now, here's your host, the visionary founder and CEO of IT by Design and MSP Talent Authority, Mr. Sunny Kaila. Over to you, Sunny.
Hi, Damien. Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well, Sunny. Thanks for having me here.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. I truly appreciate you joining me today and ready to share your journey, your insights, your life experience, and I'm so excited about having this conversation. I would like to start with your journey. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your entrepreneurial journey?
Sure. Yeah. It's a long one. I'll try to make it a little shorter, but I think it traces back to being a stubborn, impatient entrepreneur. So anybody listening can relate to that maybe, but I was so ready to get out of high school that I dropped out at like 14 and a half or something. And I realized that you could just take the GED. And then, and I wasn't going to a 4-year, and so I went to like a technical college. So that didn't matter. So I could just get right in. So I dropped out of high school, and so I'm like, by the time I was starting college, I was like 15, and was going to get an associate's degree. And I like technology, so robotics sounded good because it paid pretty well. So I went down that path, and so kind of odd to be nearly graduating college at 17, at least an associate. And so I am both a high school and a college dropout. And because I had to answer that calling and start my first business, which is this makes me sound old now, but the first business was when it was a new thing to develop websites and web applications and that kind of thing. And I also ended up becoming an MSP. And I only say that I became an MSP because that was kind of the very end. Nobody was using that term. And we, of course, were in this break-fix model. In fact, it was so early, building computers was still a good, viable revenue source. So we were really early in that. And then later somebody was like, that was managed services. So it was only after that. And I was very blessed to grow. In 1 year, we were able to grow from 4 to 17 employees. And that was a blessing that we were able to grow. And I thought I knew a lot because I was pretty good at technology. And I convinced 4 hotshots to join me. And then I proved beyond the shadow of a doubt from my perspective, I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't have the culture, the team, the processes to support that kind of growth. And no doubt in my mind, that was clear.
So you finished your college very early as compared to like the normal. So you had some exceptional things that you have done. And so one question that I have before we get into a little bit more entrepreneurial lessons learned, like what made you said entrepreneurial bug. Mm-hmm. What made you decide that path?
Before I was an MSP, before I did that, I was just known as a tech guy. And so, you're tech support for anybody that knows you, any friend that knows you, et cetera. And, you would, maybe if you're family, I didn't charge, but for friends, whatever, I'd go around and I'd charge a little bit here or there, do a little bit. And there was this new thing, which makes me sound really old, the internet and websites. And I was technical in the, IT computer networking sense, but I had no idea about building websites and web applications. And, that was the early days of that. But nobody was crazy or dumb enough to hang the flag out and say, this is the niche. We build websites and web apps. So the beginning of it was like, let's niche by focusing in that area. And so that led us to being the first in the upstate. And that progressed. That was the more evolutionary. The revolution, or for me, was, oh wow, I've got some enough of this coming in, and then all these different kind of build web apps, websites, other things. And because nobody was doing it, I was like, this sounds like a great idea. And if you know anything about business, which I know you know a ton, Sonny, that's
Yeah.
either great or horrible thing to do. If nobody's doing it, it could be because it's a horrible idea. Fortunately, websites turned out to be a thing that we're going to be around for quite a while.
Yeah, that's where you create value. That's where people pay for something because it does not exist in the marketplace. And one more thing that you mentioned is recurring revenue. So we all started as break fix. I started IT by design in New York City, break fix as well. And it was always difficult. Sometimes you have more block of hours, more projects going on, and you don't have enough techs.
That's right.
And I mean, a lot of other industries also shifted to recurring model, but MSPs are known for now more like a flat fee than monthly fee, which kind of helps you manage your revenue, manage your expenses, manage your cash flow. So that's like a good place to be in.
Yeah.
Now, the next question that I have is, I think let's get into a little bit more learning from your experience, because you have so much experience and very diverse experience doing different things, not only MSP, you have your own podcast as well on mindsets. That is so amazing. So what advice do you have for MSPs in general? What do you see in the industry, and what's your advice for people where they can learn from your experience?
Yeah, that's a big question. I'm not sure I know all of the answers by any means. I think probably what draws a lot of us here is the only constant is change. And I see some of us, we like the change in technology, but we don't like the other change. So I think, we've got to embrace that and understand that whether it's PE backed becoming a bigger thing where there's these platform roll up, whether it is at the bottom, maybe there's a little price consolidation, war on the price per seed and lowest price, trying to figure out your security stack, or are you an MSSP? Do you get that somewhere else? What the heck do I do with AI? Like whenever we think we've got it, it's going to change, and not only our tech stack, but could change our entire business model. So the biggest advice I have isn't an easy one, but I always live by differentiate or die. And I think I needed to hear that, because in the good old days that you and I were talking about, Sonny, you had all these really hard challenges, but they were different ones than they are today. And now there are more MSPs than ever. And, a couple decades ago, there were only so many people that were kind of natural tech people. But now, everybody, there's nobody in their 20s that can't configure the Wi-Fi router and do all, and doesn't know all these things. They just come knowing all this stuff. Like everybody's got a base level. They all, they're all born, technology natives instead of immigrants. And so they just know these things.
Even
so,
my 14-year-old, I have to sometimes go to him for my iPhone issues.
Yeah.
I'm like, but I am the computer engineer. You're just kind of starting high school right now.
Yeah. Yeah. But they'll know more about it, right? That's exactly right. So, so differentiate, because there's so many MSPs. Now, some will differentiate by rolling up into a PE platform and being able to offer either a breadth or complexity that others can't. But just because you're smaller doesn't mean it's bad. It just means you need to differentiate. And the advice I needed to hear is you need to think through that and turn that into an actual strategy, because at the end of the day, if we're all buying one of the top 3 to 5 RMM or PSA tools and then hanging a shingle out and offering it at X per seat, the customer has no chance of differentiating me from you or anyone else. And all we've done is make it harder and more frustrating. And that's going to end up in nothing but a race to the bottom on price, where everybody loses, not just us, but the customer. Because if we keep lowering our price, we're going to end up somewhere along the line lowering our standard, not having enough people. And the first time that they call and you can't take care of them is the beginning of the end.
Yeah. Is there any actionable advice you have in terms of how they can differentiate? Because this is a big one. Like differentiate or die is being unique. is so important, right? What are you known for when people, the consumer, the market look at your brand? What are you known for? What is the number one thing, right? So is there anything that MSPs can do to make progress in terms of their journey towards being unique, being different?
Yeah, I would turn that question around and I would almost say, is there anything you couldn't do to be unique? And this is the hard part. I think it starts with self-reflection, right? There are books out there on zone of genius, unique ability. There's a lot of different ones. And I'm going through that process right now myself and asking myself in a more deep manner, like what am I uniquely gifted at? And what are the unique talents that God's gifted me with? And what am I not nearly as good at? Where do I need my son to fix my iPhone? And where can I do things that he can't do? And my point is, you have built IT by design with a whole set of unique knowledge, but not only from what I can tell, Sonny, but it's just who you are. It just oozes out of you. It's natural to you, and you've built an amazing team and culture around that, and couldn't help but write the book about it, right? And so my point is, depending on who you are, you're going to be more inclined to do what you did, Sonny, or you're going to be more inclined to become, maybe more of the security expert. You're going to be the platform roll-up person because you have this business experience. And I think that the biggest mistake I've ever made is when I tried to, I could look at Sonny and say, Sonny's been successful. I need to copy Sonny. And that's the mistake. I'll never be Sonny. And when I'm trying to copy Sonny, I might could get to be 25 or 50% of Sonny, but I can't be Sonny because Sonny's the best version of Sonny in the world. I need to be the best version of Damien. And so I think it starts with inner reflection. And to me, that can be a little scary, right? Asking those tough questions. And don't just ask yourself, ask your peers, ask your clients, ask your friends. And I think you'll realize not only do you have an affinity for tech, okay, maybe that's a pretty normal thing as an MSP, but maybe you're really good in compliance, right? CMMC is something a lot of people want to know about right now. Maybe your security is better than others, and not just that you can buy a couple tools, but maybe you're truly going to differentiate over the next few years in that area. Maybe you have a much better financial or business acumen. And so the PE or the roll-up piece, and maybe the other thing is most MSPs are not great at conveying value. So you might be much better in the sales capacity, from a speaking capacity, from a value add capacity. And that's just one small subset of ideas. I don't think you have to fit into a single one, but if you don't differentiate, you can do that in how you deliver. You can do that in your culture. When they call and they talk to you, we all know it's different. And we can all think of examples in different industries, right? Southwest is the only one that seems to stand out in a sea of sameness in the airline industry. Or there's so many examples where it's like, well, they all do the same thing, but then there are the exceptions that actually do stand out.
Yeah, no, there's so much value, and I'm 100% in not only agreement, but I think that is the secret sauce to be successful as a human being. Knowing your superpower, knowing your genius, knowing your unique ability, knowing, what are you passionate about and what are you wired for, in a way that it gives you energy when you do those activities, and that produces the superior result that only you can produce, because everything comes together for you being a unique individual. And when I look at my life journey and what made us successful, in the sense that like we sustained for 21 years, not only sustained, but as a privately held company, getting close to 1,000 people without borrowing any penny from anyone and not being open to borrow any penny from anyone for my lifetime. It's
super rare.
Right. It's because of the uniqueness, right? So when I started going to IT Nation, I mean, in about 2006 or so, I started my business in 2003. So 2006. And I used to be like, first, I came from India and I couldn't speak English when I came here that much. And it was my own insecurity to go out there in a conference environment during IT Nation, to go to the bar, go have, dining, whining with people, because I thought, maybe what they're going to think of me, like about my accent, about my language skills, about other things. I knew tech. And I'm like, what God has given me, which is so unique. And I'm like, I was born in India. I came here to New Jersey when I was 17. And I'm well versed in both cultures. And in about 2007, this is 2007 when I started my India office, because our hedge funds, finance sector in New York City, that's where our customers were. They were shifting to more of demanding, not only asking, but demanding 24/7 knock.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't outsource to anyone out there based on the feedback that I got from reference check. And I'm like, oh, my New York City customer is going to kill me if I provide that level of quality.
Mm-hmm.
I need to make sure that IT by design is able to deliver on that 24/7 knock promise with US service standards, with Disney service standards.
Mm.
So with that thinking of, okay, what is so unique about me, where I am able to create something that marketplace is looking for, but no one can create that better than I can do, because that is my uniqueness.
Right.
So that knock made us so successful as MSP that my peers at back then, it was like HTG,
Mm-hmm.
now it's Evolve, almost 10 out of 10 peers, they started using my knock as friends.
Mm-hmm.
But to your point, just that unique capability that I have built,
That's right.
it turned my competitors into my collaborators.
And I love that part.
Like, if I did not reflect on that, what do I have which makes Sunny a unique Sunny?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Then I was not going to have that idea. I was not going to have that thinking. I was not going to be able to create something for the marketplace where no one could create that, because of not having that uniqueness. So with that, with your backup, the unique capability that you created, can you tell us a little bit there as well? That I want the world to know, because you have done something based on that thinking, which is so unique in the marketplace.
Yeah, I'll tie it back to what you said. I think it comes back to that insecurity. And I had a lot of insecurity around. So I started Servosity because I was an MSP and I didn't want to tell anybody this, but I lost data. And I felt, if anybody's been there or close, man, that's the worst day ever.
It is.
When you have to go to your client and say, I don't have it, and I don't just have a version, I didn't have any. Yeah, I mean, if anybody's been there, they all know, like, your stomach is turning right now as you listen to me. It's horrible. And I naively thought, because I was using best of breed, big name vendor, that when it said failure, I would fix it. And when it said success, I could recover. And backup success reports, or even screenshots, which is the modern day, does not mean you can recover. And I didn't know that. So I started Servosity because I wasn't sure I wanted to be an MSP after that experience. And I was like, I'm not sure if I'm going to be in the tech industry. And then I got out of my way of insecurity and I started talking to a few other MSPs, and I was super nervous. I was like, hey, have you ever, I know you're perfect, but you've probably never, and they're like, oh, let me tell you. Oh, let me tell you this time. Let me tell you when we thought this happened, and then the backup to the backup didn't work. And I realized the majority have had an issue like that, a majority of us MSPs. And I said, oh, there's something here. Now, I didn't tell my story. This was my mistake. I just said, all right, I'm going, as a tech person, I'm going to build a better mousetrap. I'm going to build a better tool that does backup, right? And so, because I didn't leverage my uniqueness, when I started Servosity, I built, fill in the name. Doesn't matter, Veeam, Datto, Accident, whatever. I built a tool comparable to those, not really better, not really worse. And I know that's probably too candid, but it did it, the similar things, and you could use it. And then more recently, I started talking to my MSPs, and being open and more vulnerable about my story of why did I do this? And now it's woven into everything we do. And the reason I did this is because I lack the people and the process to reliably test backups. Mm-hmm. And as I talk to any MSP, I've never yet had one raise their hands and say, I've got that nailed. I have enough people and processes to always test my backups and feel confident. So I was still scared, but I made the leap to change from the regular backup company. In other words, just selling like we all buy. Here's the backups and it's cost this per month, to similar price model. In other words, still X per month. But now, instead of just of a tool, it's our people and process in addition to our software. So a little bit like your story of offering a knock, right? We're offering that for backup. Yeah. Very similar in that regard. But I delayed figuring that out because I was too insecure to open up about those fears. And when I did, everybody else joined in and said, I'm with you, I've got it. And so now, as far as I know, we're really the known for the ones that, take off the management of backups for you, kind of like a knock would, and then does the testing for you daily, weekly, monthly, and quarterly. And it's just built in. And then lastly, Sunny, I want to be a go-giver. So in that regard, anybody can go to our website and download it. We have something I call Steal My Process. So I spent 18 years building this process that you can use with your existing backup tool. And this is what we do for testing and to know if we can truly recover. So my point is, you can hire us, and that'd be wonderful. But if you don't, if it's not the right season, it's not the right time, you can still pull it off with any of the top tools. And then I realized the best thing I could do for the industry would be to give that process away so you can download it and implement it and never hire us. And maybe that makes me a bad business person. But that's what I wanted to share with the world. And there's of course going to be some people that say this is too much work, right? It's the same thing as implementing a knock. Like a lot of people could go implement a knock, but not easily and not at a reasonable price, and certainly not at US or, as you said, kind of Disney service levels. And that's the uniqueness. But I had to get out. I see some parallels. I had to get out of my own way. I had to get out of my own insecurity, because I didn't want to tell anybody that I had lost data for a client. And I didn't want to tell my peers. And by the way, you got to be in a peer group, just like you were saying, Sunny, that's super powerful. And then even after I started Servosity, I didn't want to tell people, I had lost data. And now it's one of the first things. Hi, I'm Damien. I'm an MSP that's lost data. That's just part of the story, because it's woven into it. It's the reason we do what we do, because you can get backups anywhere. And I don't mean that in a negative way, but I just don't run into too many MSPs that are confident they can restore.
It's like when people talk about someone who is thinking beyond themselves, beyond, it's more of a impact-based business. You want to have positive impact on these many lives, then I think your future is automatically bigger, because you're creating bigger future for a lot of other people. So in that BHAG, that vision, which is beyond you, when you're going to help 1 million people, obviously your success will be byproduct of that. I do believe in that. It worked for me. It works for people. It's just that mindset of, givers gain. I think BNI talks about that. So overall, people that give, they get a bigger return for giving. And one thing, the last question that I want to ask there, Damien, is when we talk about, you did mention people side of the, no matter how unique, strong your process is, or your technology or your platform is, your tool set is, people are always critical part of a business. So I want to learn from you, what are the 2 to 3 biggest lessons that you have learned when it comes to hiring, developing, retaining great people, and also kind of creating that performance, that winning team, high performing team? What are the 2 to 3 things that you can share which can help people build better culture, better teams, winning teams in terms of hiring, developing, and retaining people?
Yeah. Well, really good question. A lot to it. And I feel like I've made nearly every mistake in the book on the way to figuring out, culture and team. And one of the first ones is there's two funnels in every business, and we pay a lot of attention and time on the sales funnel, and we spend a lot of money in our CRMs and tracking and all this. And then, but there's a talent funnel, and you need both. And certainly as MSP, we can kind of really understand if I'm going to double my MSP, I'm usually roughly doubling headcount. So why do we not give it equal attention? And some people say my team and my culture are the most important thing. Well, then why don't we give it more attention? And so develop the talent pipeline so that they know who you are, you're starting to know who they are, and you become far more confident when it's time to grow, when it's time to scale. The thing related to developing a talent pipeline is I've noticed when I've done that, I'm more confident about scaling. And then I'm hiring the best that there are, not the best that happen to be standing around. And that was a major difference. And so you're unique, going back to that. So set your own standards, set your own floor and what you're willing to accept. And then just, that's the other advice, is don't deviate from that. But that ties into the talent pipeline. Like if you set high standards, but then you go post an ad, and look, I've been there. I say my standards are here, and then I post an ad, but like the team's working 70 hours a week. And then all of a sudden I'm like, well, there's somebody they're kind of, if I squint hard enough, they're close. Maybe they have all the tech skills, but they're kind of a jerk, maybe, and that's where anytime I've done that, I've 100% regretted it. So we won't hire, we hire and fire for culture. And the technical skills and others can be taught. And what I've learned over the years, my belief is that even when you start with a job ad and you say, I need this certification, 4 years bachelor degree, 5 years experience here, what we're doing is we're filtering all the unconventional people out. And so we have a large portion of the market that will never even apply to our job. And the irony is a lot of us that are entrepreneurs, not all of us, but a lot of us are unconventional. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we don't always need, but sometimes the unconventional person could be that kind of 10x growth and higher for us. And that's what really gets me excited, is that is a win-win-win, because I get somebody that is maybe way more skilled than I would have thought I could have gotten. They usually are saying, you have given me an opportunity nobody would. And I've actually had people say, like, you see me, like you get it. So it is very personal. And then the customer wins because you're delivering on a level that you couldn't. And now you have a team and a bond and a culture that is tighter than anything else. And then just going back to mistakes that I've made, everybody takes the same job ad. At least that's what I do. I go look at Sunny's or somebody else's and I copy it. And while our culture is different, I can just change the name or two. And then that is the recipe for disaster, because Sunny's culture is based on Sunny and mine is based on me and what Servosity does. And you have to stand out and be unique, starting even from there. So I've learned so many lessons that I've finally now had enough of the clients coming say, will you help with this? And I love to see it, because when you can hire these amazing unconventional people that people don't often look for, and I don't just mean in IT, it could be in leadership, it could be in sales, and in these hard to find areas. Either you're not getting enough on the sales side or you're not getting enough on the talent side. And we want to make sure you can always find the right people. And the unconventional people are usually ones that we're missing out on. So if we're missing a big percentage of the market, why don't we take a look at that?
Yeah, no, I love that. So thank you so much, Damien, coming to my podcast. Any last thought that you want to share?
I think we hit a lot of the things. It's like the hard part. I just wanted to be clear. I struggle with all of this. If it sounds easy, it's because I've been struggling with it for a long, long, long time. So challenge yourself to not just think about, like, when I say, what do I need? It was usually to make payroll next time, or more leads. And you got to go deeper. You got to figure out, why are you unique? And that will lead you to the customers that you want. And the customers, more important, is who you're going to say no to. Like, if you want to build culture, write down and live by who you're going to say no to, and then actually live by it. And man, every time we've said no to just a really bad fit client, it has been just like this energy shot for our team. For example, integrity was etched at the headquarters of Enron.
Yeah.
Right. Clearly, just because etched doesn't mean it was being lived out. So you have to live out the values, and that's what gives the team energy. So I love that. If everybody listening probably very familiar with your book, but I love your book as well, Sonny. So take a look at that related to talent, and I believe you'll learn a lot from it.
Thank you so much, Damien. I truly appreciate you, and you are making a difference in this world. And I love your vision to help 1 million plus people, because that's what life is all about. Like what is our impact? So when you do business with impact in mind and really creating value for people, I think that's where magic happens. Everyone with that mindset talks about knowing who you are and then being unique and create unique value for the world. So I appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming, and you have a great rest of the day.
Thank you, Sonny. I appreciate you having me on your show. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you for watching Sonny's Silver Linings. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you next time.